Akpabio surrender as Trump called for his immediate step down and arrest. Immediately, he appeared in the US newspaper. This is very good. This is very, very good and very wonderful to hear. Yes, the US President Donald Trump has come out strong this time to begin to deal with Natasha and Akpabio's case. In fact, the US President said that it interests him to know that this is coming from Nigeria. Why? You'll be shocked. According to Donald Trump, he said illegal things happen mostly in Nigeria. Making reference to the Senate, he said the Senate in Nigeria is the most corrupt, and now he has the chances to deal with them. Now he's giving a condition that Akpabio should step down or will be arrested. He said he's going to take all he has and all that he has acquired to see that Akpabio is arrested. Why, my dear listeners? This is one thing that we really need to ask. Why is the US president taking so much interest on Akpabio's arrest or stepping down? A lot has happened according to the US President Donald Trump. I'll be playing you a video where it was revealed what Akpabio has done in the US that is making the US President Donald Trump to take strong action against him. I will not say it because if I talk, they'll say the law where you from carry come. Make una from here from the horse's mouth, because Akpabio has really committed not only in Nigeria but also in the international world. The crime committed is not just in Nigeria but also internationally. I tell una, say very soon hand going to touch all these people. Now Donald Trump has decided to take this case up by himself, making a vow that yes, he will make sure that Akpabio and all his cohort are dragged to book, not just to book but nailed, and make sure that they all pay for the crime they commit. Please spare me a little bit of time as I drop this very video, because it's very, very long, and I believe me, you will be shocked to know that all these were actually committed by just Akpabio himself. This story long. Let's go inside the content and video itself. All right, let's watch this.
Here's part of it. Senator Natasha Akpoti-Udwahan's narrative is a strategic deflection aimed at evading responsibility for her disorderly conduct, breach of legislative protocol, and contempt for Senate authority. It goes on to say sexual harassment is a serious issue that deserves due process and fair hearing. However, false or politically motivated allegations weaponized for personal gain are equally damaging. So, what are Nigerians making of this debate? Here are a few perspectives.
I feel like no is no. When a woman says no verbatim, like she says it straight, no is no. And use of power. You're in an office, you are the boss, you want to, because you have that power, it is alarming. It's actually happening, but we can't speak up because it's actually you know how our job is in Nigeria now. Your job is actually on the line, because when you speak up, you might lose your job. I think our society needs to stop this stigmatization of when they say someone is being harassed, you now be that's the person. We should stop. When we stop that, we encourage people to speak up, because even a lot of people are dying in silence. A lot of women are depressed.
I'm now joined by Ärrést Youssef, broadcaster, women's rights activist, and founder of Purple Women Foundation, as well as ONE. Ärrést, I want to start by asking you what ONE is.
Thank you very much for having me, by the way. WAN stands for, it's actually WAAN, which stands for We Are All Natasha.
So you felt compelled to actually start this foundation as a result of this particular case?
Well, it's actually a movement, yes. It was triggered off literally. For me, the first day the issue began, which was at the Senate, when we saw the exchange live. Immediately after that, I was on another station. I was being interviewed. And once I came off that, I knew that. And at that time, there hadn't been any issue of sexual harassment, because there was like 2 or 3 days before she came on TV to talk about the sexual harassment issue. But yes, one, and it's perfect. It sums up what's happening in Nigeria. It's not just about the women, it's also about men, young boys, young girls. It's about patriarchy. That's really what one covers.
Well,
patriarchal structure.
Talk to us a little bit more about this. Why has this case ignited so much discussion?
Excellent question. Because for a long time, decades, not even a long time, decades and decades and decades. You've had advocates like myself who have been encouraging women to come out and speak their truth with regards to sexual and gender-based violence. So the campaign has been going on for a long time. But in the case of Senator Natasha Akpoti, she is the most senior female in government and in society, let's be honest, and I'm talking about in the professional space now, that has come out to literally speak her truth, but not only speak her truth, but to point to the third citizen. The Senate President is the third citizen of Nigeria. So by her doing that, not only would it encourage and inspire other survivors to come through, but it also pivoted the conversation in a way that had never happened before. Gender-based violence doesn't just affect women, it also affects men. In Nigeria, it's the patriarchal structure that stops a man who is qualified and therefore not able to get a job because they're not part of the minority who hold this structure so tightly. Okay, it's the same one that will stop a boy who is perfectly qualified from getting the job that they have the skills for, because their father is not part of the old boys group of patriarchy. It is now even more so the big wall and boundaries that is built to prevent women from actually coming into politics.
Can you give us an example or examples of the kinds of things women have to endure while simply conducting their lives on a daily basis?
Wow, when we talk about sexual harassment, I can just off my head at least 5, 6, 7 women who are personal friends of mine, who have gone, when I will tell you, and it will shock your viewers. A friend of mine goes into an office to do a presentation to an MD. She gets there, he turns around from his table, and his trousers are down, and he's showing his family jewels.
My goodness.
Yeah, that's not unique to her at all.
That's not unique to her.
The woman works with her man, or she's working with a client or whatever, and she's told to come and meet him at a hotel. She gets to the hotel only to be told she has to go to his room.
Okay, enough said. As I've listened to what people say about these issues, women in particular, one thing stands out. All the voices saying it's taboo to complain about sexual harassment, even when you're the alleged victim. Can you point to any reasons for that?
It's societal. So when a woman speaks out, she's automatically slut-shamed, number one. Number two, she's often ostracized from her community. And this is what happens. It's always designed to silence the survivors. It's designed to weaken your resolve. It's designed to break and shatter your strength. It's also then, by extension, a message to other women that don't you dare speak up, because if we can do this to Natasha Akpoti, look at what we can do to you.
Let's go back to Senator Akpoti for a moment. As you know, there are a lot of people praising her bravery, but very few saying this is Nigeria's Me Too moment. Why?
Let me address why I call it a Me Too moment. Because Senator Natasha is not the first woman to come out and point to the same person or allege that the same person, the same Senate president, actually sexually harassed them. It is also widely believed that all the other, if there are any other woman out there, be of whatever age, who can point to the same perpetrator, they won't. They will be too afraid. They will be too scared. Because, and that's why I keep going back to, yes, it is an alleged, it's alleged, because it hasn't gotten to court. It hasn't been, the Senate have refused to investigate it, but also all the accusations and harassments and the weaponization of state instruments that is fashioned against Senator Natasha Akpoti is by extension a way of silencing other women from coming out.
We will have to end it there. Our deep thanks to Ärrést Bakari Youssef.
Does anyone care for Gordon's
Very big twist.
My dear listeners, no be small thing. Sure, you can now see that this Akpabio's crime of sexual harassment has really made a lot of people to start going into having a foundation to fight against sexual harassment of women. Of course, I'm really moved by this very action, and I'm really moved by this very decision. Women's rights need to be protected. The rights of the women need to be secured. In fact, it is a crime when a woman is, wrongly violated. It is a violence. To sexually harass a woman, it's violent, and that should be put a stop. You agree with me when I say that this is seriously happening in Nigeria, and it has been happening in Nigeria. And if nothing is done to put a stop to it, these men like Akpabio will continue to do these things, and you see that nobody will be able to protect them. Let's still go back to this very video because a lot are still being discussed. Let's listen.
Much for having me on the show, and it all started about a year ago where the Senate President made sexual advances at me. He also has publicly made sexual remarks, whereby last year on the floor of the Senate, he shot me down during a debate saying that I am not in a nightclub. And then because I refused to yield into his demands, malice developed. And from that malice, he denied me several rights. I was denied speaking on the floor. I could not raise my motions. I couldn't participate in debates. And I was removed for a number of international activities. So all of that went on, and I was so silent, thinking that in the process of holding everything up, he would discover his wrong, recognize me as his colleague, and let me work. But no, it got worse. On the 4th of February this year, he removed me as chairperson of the Committee on Local Content. And 2 weeks after, he, in a bid to take away my visual presence in the Senate, he moved my seat to a far corner, and that was where all door closed. I lost it. I couldn't take any more of his attacks on me, and I spoke out on the floor. I refused to take to the seat that he had moved me to, and from then I opened up to my husband, which was very difficult to do because the Senate President was good friends with my husband at that time, but I had to manage a whole lot of this for 1 whole year. So I opened up to my husband and said, listen, this is what I have been going through. I have been going through sexual harassment, and it has impacted negatively on my ability to work as a duly elected senator. And that was when I went open on the 28th of February this year on the television station named Ärrést, and I let my story out.
Okay, so the Senate President Godswill Akpabio denies your accusations. What happened when you submitted this petition complaining about his behavior?
Of course, he's going to deny. Most wrongdoers will deny because it's a taboo for Nigerian women to speak about being sexually harassed. I mean, we have a culture that shames women about our bodies,
And speaking about sexual harassment, even though it's the most it's a form of violence here against women, but many women don't speak about it because there's no platform to air such complaints. But what happened? Then on the 5th of February, 5th of March, pardon me, on the 5th of March 2025, I submitted formally a report of sexual harassment against the Senate President, Senator Akpabio. But what happened? The very next day, I was suspended for 6 months with gruesome conditions that all my security was taken away from me. I was not to be near the National Assembly for the 6 months of my suspension. That
So you can now see why Akpabio actually suspended this lady, because this lady decided to go up there and expose the truth to him. And when she decided to open up was when she saw that the going became was getting tough. So she decided to open up to her husband to let the husband know what is actually happening before the husband begin to suspect some crazy things. I getting it. So this is also going to you ladies out there, that you are not the owner of yourself. When things of this kind are happening, you don't keep it too long to yourself. Look at her. She really tried, kept this to herself for good 1 year. Imagine. Do you know what that would have cost her? It would have cost her marriage dismissed. It would have made her marriage to be dismissed. Had it been the husband later discovered by itself without the wife telling him, do you know what would have happened to her marriage just because of Akpabio? So, my dear listeners, in fact, this sexual harassment of a teen, I think, is something that we need to take very seriously. And for the foundation that are actually fighting for this, I really want to encourage them to please do, so that powerful men like Akpabio will be brought to book, exposed, and also make sure that they don't go unpunished. They must be punished. Thank you. Let's share this video. Let it go viral, even to the very last person. This is the Lord TV.